All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about Garuda Prime. Obviously, we just talked about Garuda recently, but the Prime is out and she is at full build now. And also she had some changes to some augments and things occur. So we're going to talk about her again, including a change that I think went undocumented whenever they buffed Garuda. That may or may not stick around, but I sure hope it does because it's fun. So, with Garuda Prime being out finally, we have this build. This is going to look very, very similar to what I recently showed on the build refresh. And the reason for that is because, yes, I still think that it is correct to run this on Garuda. However, it includes the addition of some more Forma so that I can run primed sure-footed, so that I can use all of the exploding weapons that I like to use. With this, we have Augur Reach, Secrets, and Brief Respite. If you want to, you do not have to. You can run this with a Decaying Key, and this amount of energy converted into shields will almost always completely refresh your shield gate for a lot of safety and protection whenever you are running this build, because casting pretty much any of your abilities except for your 3 is going to fully refresh that shield gate and allow you to have a ton of survivability. On top of that, for survivability, we're running Rolling Guard. So if you get any statuses that are going to kill you, or if you're just in danger and need a minute, you can just roll out of it and be fully safe. In addition to that, we replace her 2 with Gloom, and the reason we replace her 2 with Gloom is because Gloom does everything that your 2 does, except better in every conceivable way. It is a large AoE crowd control that is a huge slow. It gives you lifesteal, which is better than the very slow regeneration you get from Blood Altar anyway, and it's easy to keep up, and it follows you, so you should use Gloom instead of her 2. It's just the better version of her 2 that you're allowed to put on Garuda to have a better version of her 2, and she really can use the survivability that it provides. With that, we are also using Arcane Eruption. The reason we're using Arcane Eruption is because whenever we pick up an energy orb, which is going to happen pretty often, we have a 100% chance to knock down nearby enemies. Nearby is a 30-meter radius, so whenever that happens, this 28-meter radius Gloom is going to have those enemies be knocked down for an excessively long time, because the knockdown animation is also slowed for them both being knocked down and also getting back up. So Eruption provides another layer of security for Garuda to not die. In addition to that, Arcane Aegis is kind of a standard, I think. I think this is, for me at least, becoming as much of a standard as Arcane Energize is on a lot of Warframes, which is on shield damaged, 3% chance for plus 30% shield recharge for 12 seconds. This basically means you cannot die to anything but like toxin damage for 12 seconds whenever this procs. And even at a 3% chance, that's pretty good, because usually you're getting shot pretty often. Unless your Warframe doesn't have shields, Aegis is going to be very good. Other than that, Prime Flow, this is very standard on Garuda because you want a very high energy amount and you want a very low health amount, because your Bloodletting converts health percentile into energy percentile. So with this, we sacrifice 150 health to get 200 energy, which seems like a good deal to me, given the various ways we have to heal, which includes Gloom and also through Operator or whatever other means that you want to use. And we have very, very high strength in this build. We can afford to run Blind Rage because obviously the energy economy of Garuda is Bloodletting. If you don't have enough energy, you hit 3, and now you do. Pretty much that's the standard here. And with this 267% power strength, our Gloom is at 93% slow. Could you, if you wanted to, run Growing Power instead of Brief Respite because you're running double Augur mods? Absolutely. That's up to you. Feel free to do that to max out that slow on Gloom almost always. And also, you know, I guess do a little more damage with Seeking Talons. That stuff's usually not going to matter. Now, some of you may be asking why I am not using Dread Ward. This is a recently buffed augment. The time went up to 8 seconds on this. Basically, whenever you kill an enemy with your 1, specifically killing them with the claws ripping portion where you need them to be at less than 40% health and die, you will get 8 seconds of invulnerability, and this is moddable via increased duration. The reason I am not running this is because it is a colossal pain to keep going with. The methods in which you have to use this are basically, you have to be able to get an enemy below 40% without them dying, which is incredibly hard as Garuda, because her passive was switched to giving you 100% additional damage, which has a pretty much 100% uptime. So not only are you doing double damage, and that's in Warframe numbers, and you don't need double damage to kill guys instantly, you're also or you should be, always applying Seeking Talons to kind of everyone on the battlefield. So not only are you doing double damage, you're proccing slash on every single hit that you do. So good luck getting an enemy to below 40% that's going to allow you to use your one on them and do that big slow animation in order for them to die from that, in order to keep yourself alive through this. You're basically going to be micromanaging yourself, just trying to keep this going the entire time, and that wastes a ton of time that you could just spend, you know, killing all the enemies and having Gloom do the survivability for you along with shield gating. So yeah, this, not super great. I really think that Dread Ward needs to proc off of kills from the ball that you can throw with Dread Mirror, and if it did that, then it would be a super viable playstyle that I would be happy to participate in, and would probably very likely replace Rolling Guard with Dread Ward in my build. Feel free to try that for yourself regardless, because Rolling Guard is the obvious one to replace if you're going to be building around Dread Ward. But yeah, for me personally, I really don't like it. I don't think that it's versatile enough. Other stuff, we have Prime Sure-Footed, so we can't be knocked down. That's great. And other than that, we have enough range. We're at 28 meters, so that we have plenty of range between Augur, Reach, and Stretch, just to hit everything that we need to hit, both with our 4, and also grab the shield whenever we need it, because we have a very, very long leap distance. Other stuff. So, other stuff here is the Garuda Prime Talons. We have new Talons. These are significantly buffed from base Garuda, and this is where I think the undocumented change comes in, because I couldn't find anybody else that remembered that this was a thing, and I don't remember it from whenever I was testing original Garuda before all the buffs and things. So, we're going to talk about this. So, this is a heavy attack build for the Prime Talons. The reason this is a heavy attack build for the Prime Talons is with their increased crit stats, we get to 112% base crit chance with our Sacrificial Steel installed. That means that everything that we do with these in terms of heavy attacks is going to crit and better. So that's immediately very powerful. In addition to that, there's also a base damage bump up, so they're just stronger in general. And I think that heavy attacks are the way to go, because a thing that seems to have been added to Garuda is that her claws explode when you do heavy attacks now. And what I mean by that is you see this like blood pulse that like explodes off on both of the hits. That blood pulse hits like 10 times and usually does a bunch of slash procs. It does not seem to be guaranteed from what I've tested, but it hits a lot of times for a considerable amount of damage. So if we just take these enemies here, killing these guys first, if we have enemies that will survive this, you can see it will hit multiple times. Usually enemies will not survive this though, and you can see the amount of damage that it does is pretty exemplary. Also, of course, these do have decent range, and you could really, with this new like little explosive range off the end, do a lot of clear with this. And because usually it's going to proc slash, you can see like the very high slash numbers there. 340,000 with a slash proc is going to kill even Steel Path enemies very, very easily. If you wanted to, you could take advantage of doing heavy attacks with this as maybe a way to kill acolytes and stuff, especially with that plus 100% additional damage. This is going to hit very, very hard. I've seen upwards of like 6 million with multi-hit, and like just a lot of crazy numbers coming off of this. Although it's been very difficult to get the numbers to like not go into 1, but it really seems like it hits a ton of times. And yeah, it seems like a viable way to use Garuda's Claws, which is nice. Doesn't seem like it's going to be better than, you know, Glaive Prime, which is doing this in a large explosion and such. But it seems like a decent way to use these claws if you want to. Of course, Garuda doesn't really have the survivability and time that you're going to use this very often. But I think against like single targets, maybe like liches and stuff, this could be a useful thing to do. Especially if you, for whatever reason, don't have like a Glaive Prime or many other melee weapons that you could equip. Perhaps you're somebody that's just buying the Prime Access and using Garuda. If you're doing that, this seems like a very solid melee weapon for you to be utilizing, actually. At least for heavy attacks. The combo versions and like the hybrid stuff didn't work out so well, and it felt pretty meh overall. But just spamming heavy attacks with it feels pretty good. So yeah, this is pretty much the same as before. You're going to use Gloom, and we can turn the AI on. Not that it's going to matter much. You can, of course, still use your 1, grab that shield if you want to. Your 3 is going to give you just a ton of energy always. Use your 4, make it so that all enemies will always get slash procced, and that will allow you to make it so every single hit of this will always slash proc, and that's going to be strong no matter what. And you can also use, you know, of course, whatever explosive guns or anything else to take out these enemies. But you can see that they don't get to move much whenever they are under the effects of Gloom, which keeps you, as Garuda, very safe. But yeah, in addition to that, the other changes with Garuda to go over, her 4, while you are casting it, you are now invulnerable, so it's much safer to cast that, and you can kind of like float out of the way. And of course, this goes through walls, so you can just like hide behind walls and use your 4 to get around now. And because your energy economy is so good, and because with Gloom you have Lifesteal, you can pretty much just spam cast this. And while that's not going to be super high damage, casting it and then shooting some explosions into the groups is going to be just very deadly slash procs for you to utilize. There's also invincibility on the dash in from her 1 now, which is also nice, and just a few quality of life bumps in order to make her just a little bit more survivable. I really still would have loved to see, instead of getting the shield from her 1, her to just get like raw DR, because in the case where we got, say, well, I don't know, 50% DR from using her 1, and that was for, I don't know, maybe 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds, we would have been in a state where you could jump in as Garuda, you know, get your DR from enemies, and then that would be enough DR to run like adaptation instead of rolling guard, and then between those two things you could really get in there with the heavy attacks from your claws and fire this off in order to make them constantly deal slash. And I think that that overall would put Garuda in a lot more of a comfy place, but things aren't so bad for her right now. Survival's still a little on the iffy side unless you have Gloom subsumed, but yeah, good stuff overall. So let's jump into the Steel Path run, just to roll through that once more, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
Scans show Grenier are harvesting Kuba nearby. Set off the alarms to draw them out, then steal their Kuba catalysts. Predictable. As expected, Grenier have shut down the environmental systems, sending modified life support capsules. Use these to sustain your environment or attach Kuba catalysts to begin harvesting. Life support on the way. I've delivered a life support capsule to the area. Activating it will buy you more time. Prepare for life support. I've delivered another life support capsule. Operative is making progress. This will help our cause. Extraction is available if you need it. Critical life support levels. Extraction is your best option. Extraction is ready. Life support has been replenished. running out of time. Consider extraction. Life support activated. The longer you fight, the more successful we will be. Critical life support levels. Extraction is your best option. You are running out of time. Consider extraction. Life support has been replenished. Additional life support has arrived.
A valuable lesson.